really going to be covering tonight the market stats. A lot of people have been asking me, how do we connect the facts and the market data and counsel our clients and our prospects? So tonight we're going to start that conversation, but it's definitely more of an hour-long presentation versus a 30-minute presentation. So we'll cover some highlights and give you guys some tips and scripts maybe to get you started. And then we'll need to follow this up with another conference call or two to be able to get you the data and then start to practice and really make that conversation happen with a lot of our clients. Good news, like I was telling Lacey at the start of the call, we're actually seeing listings coming through our office today. Today was a busy day in the office, and we were seeing some new actives coming on. I was seeing some people who have been off the market. They're wanting to go ahead and go live. So the temporary off the markets have actually we've seen those start to come back, which is good to see. So expect some good things on the next week or so. But tonight I really want to spend some time talking about how do you talk with a client or a prospect who is fearful, and really giving you some tips and tricks on how to do that. Many people are actually they're kind of stuck in the fear zone, and they need to broaden their horizon and realize that this isn't a great opportunity. In fact, people ask me when I first got hit where the office shut down, I was like, oh, how are you doing, Rochelle? I'm like, I'm okay. Now I'm to the point where this is a great time to be a buyer or a seller. There's some opportunities that exist. I was out with a new client over the weekend looking at some new construction with D.R. Horton. And D.R. Horton, had to make an appointment with them. We did an appointment there, and he was super helpful. Couldn't go into the office, but he was like, Rochelle, we opened up the site in Puyallup. We already have 21 sales, multiple offers we would have had, but we don't have multiple offers. Here's this lot or that lot that's available. So there's some new things we're going to talk about regarding, how did that market change? What should you be asking some of your clients at this point in time to determine whether it's a good time for them to buy or sell? What if the market corrects? What if they can't make their payment? What if the home drops in value? Some of these questions are what buyers and sellers are asking when they're considering, do they buy or do they sell right now? So really, we wanted tonight just discover some of the things that will help them make a decision. Some of you have asked some questions to me, so we'll try to address those, and then give Sam an opportunity to 5 minutes to discuss the lending industry and in general, because some of the fear that's related is around the lending overall. So I'll kind of get that conversation started really. So Shannon, if we go to the next slide, that would be great. Let's see, I gotta get my screen formatted here. There we go. So a lot of you, just kind of wrap up from last week, have asked about the ESD Washington Employment Security Department. If you haven't filed for, the SBA or done the process, it's not a rush. We don't need to rush into that, as we discussed last week. But there is an update that the ESD will be posting if they haven't already on their website, so that you can apply for the traditional ESD or the unemployment insurance. Right now, they're denying every single person who has gone in from Best Choice Realty and has applied for, the employment or being an employee. They're denying every single claim. But according to what the Realtor update has given us, that you should be able to fill out the application on the 15th or 16th of this month. So a few more days, maybe by the end of the week. You could check back on the ESD website to see how you go about filling that in. But you need a SAW account, an SAW account on the ESD website. You could apply, but you don't have a Realtor membership. So I don't want you to get confused thinking, oh, we're not eligible because we're not Realtors. There is going to be a way for you guys to go into ESDA and file for an application, but it won't be until April 20th. That we anticipate. And again, it's an estimate that might be later, depending on how many people go in through that website and actually, perhaps they crash the system, who knows? Something like this has never happened before at this magnitude. So there's additional guidance that we'll give you, but if you want to go in and create a SAW account, you can do that. But as far as filing for unemployment, they're going to most likely deny your claim. But again, like I said, that we'll keep you updated on that front. The other new thing that I think a lot of you have asked me is, Rochelle, should I be using the 22 FM in my contracts? And I've been advising you that was for the force majeure. I don't anticipate us getting, extended or having to be stuck. It's been lifted for real estate brokers with limited contact. So I wouldn't advise that you use a 22 FM anymore in the contracts. Some of you have asked me maybe a few weeks ago, and we were using the 22 FM. Now we're not seeing that. And even Annie Fitzsimmons is advising that we don't use the 22 FM in our contracts. So that will eliminate a lot of the fear and the anxiety that a lot of you are having in drafting those contracts or writing up those offers. No need for 22 FM, except we may want to talk about an extension or possession date or adjustment, if the parties can't get to the table like they need to. Another competitor update is we, in the last week, have seen Redfin do a major announcement, EXP Compass a couple weeks ago, where they laid off a lot of their employment staff, which, like we did, we put them on furlough. You're going to see longer response times. And I'm purposely sharing this information with you guys so you can figure out how you as independent contractors can respond in a way that's not like maybe some of our competitors. So quick response times is key. There's no reason why you shouldn't respond quickly to your sphere of influence leads or the clients you're working with. They want you to respond quickly. And some of our competitors are experiencing longer than normal wait times. So make sure that you're getting back to your people quickly. They're also, some of them are pulling back on their lead generation, which we have not pulled back. In fact, we've pushed more money for lead generation to get our website and our lead generation plans in motion. So we are not pulling back. If you want to join our lead generation webinars, we do those on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. If you want to join, you're welcome to. It's the same webinar link that we're doing tonight. So if you want to jump in on those, I have an advertiser who is helping, giving us real-time information and helping us with our Real Geeks website and system. Again, if you would like to participate, you're welcome to jump in on those webinars. Some of our competitors, they're doing more virtual tours. I would advise that you also should consider doing a virtual tour. If you're the kind of listing agent who's only doing still photography, you got to start paying the money and doing the virtual tours. Some of the competitors are doing that, and they're doing more of that because of the access not being as accessible as it needs to be in order to get more people in to see your property. More emails. I don't know about you, but I've seen a rise of the amount of emails that I'm getting, which kind of begs the question, are the emails you're sending, are they good? Are they of value? Are they set out to go to the right people? Or do you need to retool and redo some of the things with your emails? I'm getting in my opinion, too many emails about what COVID, what it means to me, all of that kind of stuff. Be very strategic and actually be more personal and authentic with your emails, and you'll have a greater response rate than some of these other companies. And then we're actually seeing an influx of new brokers, even though we have pulled back with some of our employment staff. I actually brought back DJ, and he's actually processing some new brokers into Best Choice. We've actually brought in approximately 3 or 4 that have signed up with Best Choice just in the last week. So we're seeing an influx of brokers maybe leaving Redfin. Certainly we've recruited a few of those Redfin agents. Welcome back, Jennifer Ryan, if you're on the call. And then Compass, we've actually started talking with a few more people at Compass and EXP. So some of those influx of new brokers are coming from our competitors, and we're going to see that as we go into the next month, because you guys are getting real-time data. You guys are the ones that are on our Zoom meetings every Monday. So kudos to you for jumping in tonight, and I'll keep you updated with anything that I see from my vantage point next week. Next slide. So these are the 4 questions that are burning with people, and I can't remember who I got this from. I apologize, but great questions. And I'm consistently seeing these questions that are hitting our agents, and I'm seeing it on our blogs. Inventory remains low. However, is it a good time to buy or sell? Is it a good time to buy? Yes, inventory remains low. If you need to buy, if you are in a position where you have a solid, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but if you're in a good position with your job, yes, this is a great time to buy, because we're seeing less competition with listings out there. Before COVID, we would see maybe 10, 12 offers. With COVID, maybe you only see 2 or 3. So even though the inventory remains low, it is a good time to buy if you're positioned to do so. Are you seeing more buyers or sellers currently? Buyers, there's some buyers that are actually getting more involved, and buyers that have said, no, I've lost my job, so I'm kind of having to be put on the back burner. And sellers, if they need to sell, they're kind of waiting to see what happens with this lift, with the governor lifting the how that's going to go. So many are sitting on the sidelines, and they just need to be refreshed on information. So have more conversations with both buyers and sellers. It's becoming more of a balanced market. I hear virtual tours are preferred over physical touring. Yes. I had one of our brokers called me this morning and said, Rochelle, I'm going to put one of my Airbnbs, my investment properties on the market. What do I need to be concerned about? I advised her, get the virtual tour, make sure you do the key box. We cannot leave business cards at the home site. And we have to confirm every showing by appointment. So that becomes very tricky. If you have not taken a chance to learn how to do showing time, that might be a good time to do that. If you think you're going to be doing a listing pretty soon, that showing time it helps organize your showings a lot better. And also, if you're not ready to do that, dive into that type of training, just make sure that you make it clear if it's a vacant property, make it very easy for those listing agents to connect with you and make those appointments. I'm sorry, those buyers agents, make that appointment with you. And then tips on how to talk with buyers and sellers that are on the fence about entering the market now. We're going to cover a few slides that you hopefully can take away with tonight. So Sam, it's up to you. Take it away.
Okay.
Give us the update.
So I'm going to talk about the challenges going on in the mortgage industry and some of the problems and some of the programs that have kind of gone away. But before that, I want to preface that we're closing more loans than we ever have. So loans are getting closed. I mean, Movement Mortgage closed $1.3 billion in loans in just the first 10 days of this month, which is, I think it's double our previous record. So, you know, if people are telling you mortgage lenders aren't lending, it's not true. There are some specific programs that are problems, but you know, it's as busy as it's ever been, and that's one of the problems. The biggest problem in a word is just liquidity. There is a liquidity crisis in the mortgage industry, and there's a whole bunch of technical factors with mortgage-backed securities and the Fed buying mortgage-backed securities. There's also there's issues on 4 or 5 different fronts. You know, lenders are overwhelmed with applications. Back about a month ago now, I don't know if you got the other chart.
Next slide, Shannon. Yep.
This just kind of, so mortgages always have kind of followed the 10-year treasury. You know, if you follow the 10-year treasury, you can get a good idea of where rates are going. It's kind of gone away with that, with the dysfunction going on. So the mortgage-backed securities, the 3% coupon is a better indication, and you can see about March 9th is when we hit the floor with rates. I mean, if you timed that about 1 hour window, you could have locked at about 3% for no points, or maybe 2.25% or less on a 15-year, and the market got flooded. And and then it even went down a little bit after that, but there was such a problem with volume, rates didn't drop, and then they've gone up since. And the last week and a half, it's been encouraging. They've been much less volatile. Like 2-3 weeks ago, we were getting 4 or 5 price changes a day. We were seeing, in one day, there was a 1.5 difference in rate from one day to the next. And now it's calming down. The things are getting better. Rates are still in the 3s in most cases, upper 3s. They're also, another good news is they're really, this is just a guess, but about 3/4 higher in rate than where they should be if the market wasn't so out of balance. So all of the experts out there are recommending, you know, floating, which just, you know, if you're, you know, they're meaning rates, they expect rates to come down once things settle down. So besides the volume, everyone's working from home. And then there's also the issue of how many locked loans are falling out because people are laid off. If we lock a certain percentage of loans and don't deliver them, it gets really expensive on our lines. So lenders are very skittish with that. They're also very skittish about if somebody doesn't, if they don't make their first payment, basically you own that loan for a year until you can show 12 months of them making the payment on time. And there are people that are loans are closing, they're getting laid off and they don't ever make a payment. And there's the forbearances are a problem. You probably heard about these, and this is something that's good to educate yourself on. It's being billed as a payment holiday, and they're very important for people that have no other options. But if you have the money to pay your mortgage, you really shouldn't do a forbearance, which is just taking, it depends on the program and the lender. Some of them, like FHA is, I think it's a 6 months no payment, and then they're just tacking those payments at the end of your loan. So you're getting a 6-month holiday from making your mortgage payment, which is great if you have to do that. If you're just doing it because you want to save some money, there can be some issues that we don't know how this is going to show on your credit. Is it going to be nothing? Is it going to be like a short sale or a loan mod? Probably somewhere in between. And you can't refinance if you're in forbearance. And the other problem with these forbearances are, these mortgage lenders, the servicers, when they own your loan, they're not just paying cash for your loan, they're making payments themselves on your loan. So when if they get 20% of the population does a forbearance, they still have to make their payments and they're not getting paid. And that's a liquidity crisis, and they're going to go in default. I've been reading that we're good through April, and we got big problems in May if these forbearances keep up. And again, it's a great tool for people to stay in their house if they can't make it, but you really want to do your research because it does have some negative consequences. The specific programs that we're having problems with are jumbo loans. There's really no liquidity. There's no buyers. We had probably a dozen different jumbo investors, and now we're down to one, and they're effectively almost shut down. They just don't want to lend. And then there's the programs that have gone away because of the risk factor. And this is just temporary, but the non-QM stuff, the portfolio type loans and the bond loans, those are all, not all, but for 90% of them are all on hold because of the risk. And lenders are concerned about, again, doing these loans and then one of two things, either going into foreclosure 6 months down the road because they got laid off, or early payoffs. Again, with all these experts predicting rates coming down, if you close a loan right now at 3 3/4 and it goes down to 2.5 in 4 months, people can refinance. And when a loan gets paid off in less than 6 months, lenders lose a ton of money. So they're also concerned about that. So there's all these things hitting from all directions. So it's causing tightening on guidelines. I mean, there is a term is called flight to quality where things are tightening. So just this weekend, Fannie Mae adjusted but they adjusted their automated system. They don't tell you what they did. We'll find out in another couple of days probably. But it's going to be harder to do a loan than it was before. And probably more so for the real low down loans with lower scores and not a lot of reserves. I think they're going to probably, used to be able to do a loan with no reserves very easily, and they're going to want to see more money in the bank at closing is probably going to be one of the bigger things. So I'll get the word out when I know more about it, but you're probably going to see more reserve requirements. There's already higher FICO requirements on a lot of loans. We are at 640 on FHA. That's just movement. Some lenders are 680, some lenders are 620, but that's gone up because of the risk factor. They're lowering the DTI, the debt to income on some of these loans. So that's something that if you have a buyer you're working with, especially if it's a buyer who's selling their house, you want to have a counsel with them about two different things. One, are they comfortable they're working in an industry where they're going to have that job in 3-6 months? And two, have they spoken to their lender to make sure they still qualify for the same amount? Because if they got approved in March when rates were lower and guidelines were looser, they may not qualify for as much. And that's a big problem when people are selling. If I've heard some horror stories of people that they sold their house 4 days ago and now they're ready to, they got this house at 400 grand they want to buy and they don't qualify because either their score is too low or the amount they qualify doesn't go up. So that's a good opportunity to reach out to anybody you've been working with as a buyer, as far, in the last 9 months, just have a conversation, be a resource for them with that.
Are you seeing more VA then, Sam? I'm seeing more VA down in Pierce County because of this change of not having the down payment assistance program. We were seeing a lot of that down south. And now that's providing some more opportunities for some VA buyers to get off the sidelines and actually take action.
Yeah, VA is an option. I mean, all these programs have more challenges, but yes, it only makes sense. VA is the best zero down option out or low down option anyways. If they have, some veterans like to save their eligibility, but if you buy a house VA, you can refinance it, you get your eligibility back. If you use it again, the funding fee is higher, but yeah, I would encourage people to use their VA eligibility, or if you're looking for a group to target market, VA buyers might be a decent idea because that program is still viable. Again, it's not as easy as it used to be, but it's still viable. So and again, sure. That's a whole bunch of negative stuff I just said, but we're closing loans.
That's the good news, Sam. So let's get into some of the other pieces, and I'm sure you'll have some scripting that you maybe can speak up about. But
yeah, and I just want to, while I got it, so I think we're still doing this month. Here's my old school flyer.
Next 10, 90 days.
Yeah, so Movement puts on these classes. Well, I'll be putting it on, but they've put together a presentation on how to adjust in the coronavirus and after. I mean, even if this coronavirus goes away much quicker than anybody thinks, the new norm has changed. There's still going to be way more people wanting to do work remotely and Zoom and all those kind of things. So it's a good opportunity to be ahead of that. And there's a lot of, I've been a little bearish on the mortgage and real estate market in the short and long-term future. And after training on this, I feel a lot better. I think there's some good opportunities are going to come from this. Obviously, notwithstanding all of the suffering that people are going through. I mean, I'm not diminishing that, but just you're trying to look on the bright side of things. There could be some opportunities in here, and while this is going on, checking in with people, being a resource, asking how you can help. There's a lot of people out there that are lonely and afraid, and it's a great opportunity to pick up the phone and call them. And instead of, don't just jump in and sell, start off, it's easy to have small talk right now. Everyone's life's, crazy and they want to talk about it. And then you can go into, is there anything I can do to help? And even some people need groceries delivered, and you can actually really help people. And then going into, how you can be a resource for them in real estate.
I've got some good slides that we got coming, Sam. So keep it rolling. Next slide, Shannon. So Dirk Zeller, I watched a lot of scripting the last week. So if you guys want to take, scroll through once we get this live, it's live right now on YouTube, but if you want to get the recording, we can send it out. But this is what he's recommending doing. It's working really well. As you can see, we have had blank activity in the lockbox. I will assume that the number will continue to drop because of the stay-at-home directives. So you can kind of give your sellers these are some cues. We are seeing more online views and engagement of virtual tours and virtual open houses. Those numbers are continuing to increase. Those are clear indicators that there's active buyers in our marketplace. So I've been working with one of our brokers who was like, gosh, I don't have any showings anymore. But before COVID, we had a lot of showings. We had to look at the reverse prospecting and really connect with the virtual tour, with the video, with the online views, and make sure that they are seen. And that's an indicator of the buyers. If there's more views on your video tours or on your virtual tour activity, then that's no different than if you were to have showing. So we've got to watch those quite a bit. And then these are some scripting that you could use with your sellers. It's clear there has been a reduction in physical private showings. We are equivalent to where we were in the early stages of the new year. So it's not what we expect in the spring market, but the also good thing is it's not zero. We're still seeing private showings, physical showings. So this is kind of a lot of you ask me, what do I say to my sellers? How do I convey this information? I like the way this is put. It's very much positive and kind of giving them the facts. Next slide. Title companies. So Chris, you might be able to speak up on this, but I like the way he phrased this. I always try to educate and inform my client from multiple vantage point. Here is an analysis or a chart. Again, this is scripted from some other company, but from WFG or whatever company you're using. They are one of the big title companies in our market. And as you can see, the number of open orders for refinances has dropped drastically. So that gives us an opportunity for the resale. It's dropped as well. But it's the same level that we saw in late January to early February, and it should be typically be trending upward for the spring market. Certainly it's not zero. We're just tabling these orders for the next month. So we're expected to have a good market in, say, July and August. So Chris, are you kind of feeling the same way? Are you good with this? I gotta unmute. Yeah, hold on.
Am I off mute now? I thought I'd unmuted myself. Hi, Rochelle.
Yep.
So what's the question?
We're just trying to get, you have charts and I mean, basically you can be, the refinances is down, right? The orders for refinances are down.
It's starting to tail off. I mean, I think right now we're still dealing with a little bit of a pent up things that were already underwritten that still are in the system right now. So we've peaked on our refis, but it's still a record setting amount of volume that we're seeing, but that's a collective. Okay. I think my individual loan officers, from what I've been talking to them about it's just because the guidelines have tightened up and obviously the rates are not as stable and as low as they once were. So people are kind of sitting back on the sidelines. And I even went and was talking about doing a refinance myself personally and had to wait, kind of waiting on the sidelines right now just to kind of see how these rates are going to settle out and what this is all going to look like here in the next month or so. So
it's not zero. And so it's definitely trending. And so it's not like it's going backwards. So a lot of people have fear and a lot of your buyers or sellers have fear about this. And so you can give them some good points from your title company by providing a chart or what would they order? A dollar report, Chris, from WFG, like the little neighborhood review?
Yeah, they could do the neighborhood. There's a number of different reports. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that have been built into the industry and the stuff that we're providing to, it is designed to promote confidence. It's based on facts. A lot of the information that people are going off of are fear right now. So if the opportunity is there to educate and they're willing to listen to that, there's a lot of really positive things that are happening in the market right now.
Awesome. Next slide, Chan. The other one, good scripts I took was third party. So a lot of you are getting information from accountants and attorneys and financial planners. So when you're kind of framing this to your clients, can I ask you what information or source your attorney gave you for citing for their opinion? So you can really understand, because some of it may not be totally off, but it could be the reason why they're feeling the certain way that they're feeling. They're interpreting the data that's coming from their accountant. I would assume they're using some credible source to draw their conclusions. Do you have any idea what or who they're getting that information from? Some of my clients have actually forwarded me some of the information, and so that would help you understand why they're feeling the way they're feeling. Have they expressed to you what theory they're basing their recommendation on? So really challenge them a bit more. Some people, even Uncle Ned, even my uncle down in Arizona, who's 85 years old, thinks this is like the sky's falling. So it could be just, you need more information to clarify. And those are some good questions to clarify with your client if they are getting information from a third party before making a decision. These are the questions that I would jot down if you're kind of sitting by your computer and you want some good questions to ask your clients. How good of a deal do you feel you made on this property before the coronavirus hit? So that is a question that I've used to keep some of our deals together. And some of I don't know, I feel like it's going down by 30%. No, it's not 30%. We've had those kind of conversations, but you could step into it. How good of a deal do you feel you made on the property before the coronavirus if they're in pending status? Are there concerns, bigger concerns like personal safety, or is it marketplace driven? I kind of like that question too, because some people are more concerned about how we're showing the properties versus the marketplace. And so you need to flesh that part out. Are your largest concerns more in the personal safety category, or are they more economic? That's a good question as well, to understand what drives and what motivates them. When you think about everything going on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, affecting my sleep and peace of mind, and 1 being it gets me thinking but doesn't consume my thoughts, where would you say you fall? So really kind of getting a pulse check. There's a Facebook thing that's been really posted, I think reposted several times, like, are you still in the fear stage? Or are you kind of out and you're actually trying to learn and trying to grow your business? You internally have to answer that question for yourself. But if you're in the high growth stage and you're past the point of fear and anxiety in like 1, then that means you can go out and actually make some deals happen. But if you're still fearful and anxiety, you got to have some right scripting and questions. Reach out to anybody on the call here and we can kind of help you get back on track. It's hard when you're out of your home office and you're working by yourself. So you need to kind of get outside of that and connect maybe on Zoom meetings or form some small script building groups. Those types of things will help you get out of that fearful stage and jump into better, making a better business for yourself. So what is your primary concern? You could ask that to a buyer or a seller. Besides that most important concern, are there any others? If we were to rank your concerns from most to least, how would you rank them? Again, this is like coming almost from a therapist kind of point of view, but it works. Do you have a concern for your job and income? So Sam also alluded to that same question. If they are concerned about their job or their income, maybe this is not the right time. And you want to keep them on your drip list or follow up with them with information, but it's probably not the time to go out and go look at homes right now. How large a concern is that on a scale of 1 to 10? Where would you rank it? So again, these are just core questions that you should be asking before you jump in and giving them data or giving them information. Home price changes during the last 5 recessions. I don't anticipate us having this type of price adjustment. In 2008, we saw 19.7%, but you can see, I consider the type of situation that we're in is a very, very kind of a situation like we encountered in the turn of the century during the .com era, where we saw the home price change actually increase. I don't anticipate that much of a drop, a 19.7. Maybe we'll have something like in the early 90s, like a negative 0.1, 0.9%, but I don't anticipate, with all of the data trends that I'm seeing, that we're going to have a price change of that magnitude in 2008. So you've got to get some data that will show otherwise, that will show your clients that we're not seeing price adjustments like this. And you can do that by just showing over the activity levels. We have inventory levels at a record that we've never seen before. Even in the 90s, we haven't seen those type of inventory levels. But that research that I showed on the screen was from CoreLogic. It's one of the biggest data collection companies in the industry. There are 5 recessions that we had in the last 40 years, and what happened in 2008 jumps out to everyone, and that's what gives people the panic. But really, you need to kind of ask, how long do you feel you will live in your next home? That is the question you want to ask. How long will you live, or will you plan on staying in your next home? If the answer is short term, then there's a kind of a follow-up question series that you'd want to do. Or if it's long term, there may be a different question and answer series that you would use. But that's the key question. How long do you plan on staying in your next home? We don't have a crystal ball, so I can't really explain. But this is some good scripting that you could use for those long term. If they say, long time, Rochelle, we're going to be in our home. Will be our lifelong home. I want to get out of this condo. It's too small. Or we had 2 more babies. And so we actually have outgrown our house. They're more of a long-term type of buyer. And so for them, as a long-term owner for the next home, the risk, because you intend to own your home for 10 years, is almost zero. In fact, the interest rate and the level of comfort you have with the monthly payment is the biggest factor or determinator whether buying a new home is the right decision for you at this time. If it's more of a short term, because you are thinking this is more of a short-term ownership position, a market correction in value gives you less time to recover if it happens. You will be exposed to a higher risk than if you expected to stay in the home for 10 years. I really think that's something we need to weigh out as well. So it's giving them some thought and kind of framing the conversation a bit more than you may have done in the past. So having those conversations, how long do you plan to live in your next home, would be probably the number one takeaway question I would use for tonight's session. And then give them the data based on the long-term or short-term. So this is some good takeaways that I took from a good friend of mine. She used to work with me at Zip Realty. She was a team leader, very strong performer in the Baltimore, Maryland area. We're friends on Facebook. She posted this just the other day. So how's the real estate market? Friends, family, strangers keep asking. Compared to how it usually is in the spring months, I gotta say that here in the Maryland area, it's noticeably and significantly slower. Understandable. So she's, again, recognizing the fact that things have just kind of put on the pause. My sellers are ready for someone to fall in love with their property. That's a fact. She's a very good listing agent. Now more than ever, if someone makes an appointment to come into your home, you should be prepared and ready 120%. What does that mean? You got to have it clean. You've got to have it organized. You've got to have it staged, and you've got to have it priced correctly. She's spot on. Everybody I've talked to, if I'm going to list their home, have got to do those four powwow things. This is your home's chance for the first impression. This is the first date when you fall madly in love at first glance. If you'd like to discuss your home in Maryland, please give me a shout. We can talk on the phone, meet remotely, set an appointment for the future. I'm gearing up for a super hot real estate market once we are able to move around and more bottleneck of the seller and buyers open up. So again, you don't have to take all of this, but I thought this was really good because she does kind of frame it in a local connecting type of way. And I liked her 4 bullet points of keeping the homes clean, organized, staged, and priced correctly, keeping that kind of front in mind for sellers. Next one. This one's a local company. This is actually a local team, a husband and wife team, the ACE Group out of Keller Williams. They're local in my old neighborhood, but they did a video, and I believe it was well attended, Ask Me Anything, a real estate Q&A, and they did a Zoom meeting and how to buy a house in this type of market. And they had a button and they said, secure your place now. And they had really good, relevant local information. So again, very creative way to educate, and a very good way of educating buyers and new buyers at that. So love that. Virtual tours. If you guys haven't seen some virtual tours, these are some great links for some virtual tour companies that will help you take your stills, make them more interactive. Use a virtual tour company, use a stager of some sort. Virtual staging would be helpful in some of those vacant homes to make them appear a lot warmer and, lived in rather than so vacant. And then the last slide, Shannon, I think we're up on time. If you had questions, be sure to go ahead and send me your questions.